A new flavor for your ear. Epic Spotlight. Putting the spotlight on positive goings on the real people that have chosen a real path. The who's, the whys, and the hows are being shared.
And we got another one. But before we get going, we got to take care of some housekeeping notes. This episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, investing, or refinancing, call Epic 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals, so let's plan together. Call Epic today. And now on with the show. Today we have Brent Wilk. Brent is the founder and managing broker of Wilk Real Estate, an independent brokerage situated in the vibrant southwest suburbs of Chicago. With over 2 decades of invaluable experience, Brent has not only established himself as a leading figure in the local market, but has garnered a stellar reputation extending across 14 northern Illinois counties. His track record speaks volumes, having successfully facilitated over 2,200 property sales throughout his illustrious career. While Brent's expertise predominantly lies in residential real estate, his proficiency isn't confined to just one sector. He boasts a comprehensive understanding of various facets of the industry, including traditional sales, REO properties, short sales, probate and estate sales, relocation, land transactions, as well as catering to investors and managing portfolio assets. When he's not shaping the local market, Brent enjoys soaking up the sun, vacationing, and bonding with family and friends. Brent is an avid sports enthusiast and has been actively involved in coaching youth sport teams, fostering teamwork and leadership skills among young athletes. Welcome, Brent Wilk.
Well, thank you, Dante. Appreciate the time today.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. So let's talk about Wilk Real Estate. So how did it all come about?
Well, Wilk Real Estate kind of started almost on a whim. Prior to me being a real estate agent, I actually worked downtown Chicago as a banker. I rose up the pay scale kind of fairly quickly as I was a hard worker, but seemed to never have the opportunity to be considered for management positions. I met qualifications. I networked as I learned you typically do with people, including managerial type employees. And my work pretty much spoke for itself. I realized in corporate America, it's not only who you know, but it's the workers work and the managers manage. There's no in between. I was a solid worker, and upper management's decision was to keep me working. I purchased my first home in 1999, had a great experience doing so. So in 2002, 2003, I was looking at ways of additional income when I wasn't working and thought, hey, let me get into real estate. So sell a couple of homes a year and do some improvements on my house. I took the jump, took the chance. I became a real estate agent in 2003. Kind of, again, rose the ranks because I was brokered and mentored by a really good managing broker at the office I was originally with. 2010, I decided to end up switching offices and going to a corporate side, which the big balloon company. And then I learned that company really wasn't for me. I wanted more of the independent side. So I decided in 2012, I got my managing broker's license, and I had a good network of clientele, properties that I was working with. So I jumped into the chance and became managing broker of my own independent brokerage. And it's kind of gone from there.
That's awesome. What a leap of faith, but you obviously had a belief within yourself that you could do it.
Well, it's not only me believing in the leap of faith. It was the sit down talks and communication and trust from my spouse. Because the first time I told her it's time to leave the nest from the first brokerage, she looked at me like I was crazy. And she's like, you've got this active income, all this business you're doing. What are you doing? So what I was saying is I had a broker split that was not a favorable split with my first brokerage. Saw what going to a franchise company would end up doing. And knowing that I was still having the volume, I didn't have to maybe sell as much and I would make more. So what I did is I took the last 5 years of my sales that I had, and I said, if I worked at the franchise with these sales, this is how much we would have made, and put it into our bank account for a 5-year period instead of where we're currently at. After she reviewed it, after about 2 months, because she wouldn't give me the time of day, she said, well, I think it's time to make that decision and move forward. So there was a lot of trust in her, knowing that I wasn't going to ever give up. I'm a worker. I work my butt off, and, I think what it comes down to is, I've proven a lot of people wrong. But at the same time as this is I've experienced what I've experienced. And ultimately this is the business that I run is a covert business to where I look out for the best benefit of my clientele. And of course, I'm compensated in a way that's beneficial to me and my family because of the work I've put in.
Definitely, no doubt.
Am I a local lender? Yes, I can be, but I'm also a lender that is just a phone call, a Zoom meet, a direct message, or a text message away from working with you. The money that I can provide and the programs that I have can be shared in all states that I'm licensed in. I can be of service to you. Whether you're in Denver, Houston, Orlando, Chicago, Detroit, Fort Wayne, or Alexandria, I got your back. If you need me, just reach out and let me show you what I can do for you and your family.
It's always family first, and I appreciate that. I can definitely understand. I mean, obviously over a 20-year career, 2,200 sales. I mean, how does one do that? I mean, where does it start from? Just take me through, what have you built?
Well, I can tell you this. When I was with my first brokerage, year one, sat down in a chair. My managing broker and your father were good friends. I remember my broker telling me, if you work a 40-hour week, year one in the office, I'll guarantee you 40 sales. And I called BS. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, I have no experience, no knowledge. So I realized the only way I'm going to end up becoming a proficient agent, experienced, and making money is networking with the right agents in my brokerage. So what I would do is I was working full-time downtown. I got in contact with this secretary of the office, found out where the managing broker would be after 4:00 every day. And I would also find out there was another agent. I would find out same assistant where he would be. What I would do is I would end up basically shadowing them, learning their skills, what they did when they talked with clients that were walking into and touring homes. When they would go on listing appointments, I would see what they would be doing. So I learned a lot through them over a full year. I sold 47 homes my first year. Oh, I was shocked to meet. I increased it in year two. And of course, right after that, the market collapsed. And again, I've always had good mentors. And again, I remember the collapse in the market. This is probably around 2007, 2008. We had a meeting and the broker ended up mentioning, he goes, if you can withstand the next 24 months of what we're going through right now, you'll make this in the industry. You'll make it in the industry. And of course, I'm here. I've definitely made it through. And going to a franchise company, I had a really good managing broker there. Good networking people that were there. It's just, I didn't find a great enough fit. That was just where I felt more institutionalized. I always joke around to where, if you remember the movie Shawshank Redemption, remember there was a guy, Brooks, who was the book, the librarian. Mm-hmm. And Brooks was a guy who was institutionalized. He was jailed at a young age, and his entire life he was in prison. Well, what happens? He had parole. He can't accustom himself to everyday living. So basically, what does he end up doing? He ends his life. I saw a lot of agents that they rely upon the logo of the company that they're with, and they automatically think that this company's making me money. And it's wrong. It's absolutely incorrect. It's the person who's actually communicating on behalf of that company is making their own fortune and their own success. And I think, again, still today, I've been in the business 20 years, and I'm pretty well known in the industry. I still have people and consumers, they don't know who the hell Wilk Real Estate is.
Sure.
And again, may have to talk to them, and they have to learn trust, and they have to rely on some type of website. But again, the website's only going to say so much. Social media is only say so much. Our radio show is only going to say so much. So people just have to learn eventually the real me. So that's where if they learn the real me, they're going to end up understanding how I can accommodate and take on 2,200 sales. I rely upon family, trust. I rely upon moral standards that have gotten me to that point of 2,200 sales plus in my career. And I think the biggest thing is devotion. You have to devote your craft and devote yourself to your career. There's two careers. There's home and then there's work. I'm devoted to both. And the one thing I definitely end up doing is I have a work family and I have my family. You're part of the work family because, again, we've been networked for so long with each other. You know, it's common to where it's uncommon if we don't talk to each other probably at least once a week.
True.
So, you know, and that's where it just goes through. There's a lot of trust because I can't do it alone. I need people that end up doing it for me, or assisting me with communication and answers and so forth. But ultimately it comes down to does that person want to work with me or not? And again, if I've got 2,000 plus people who have decided that Brent Wilk of Wilk Real Estate instead of that balloon company, you know, that kind of speaks volumes that they've earned the trust of the individual instead of where other people rely upon the logo and their Shawshank Redemption institutionalized method that they're doing.
Right. I mean, obviously small businesses, we rely heavily on referrals, and referrals is word of mouth. And it's usually coming from a customer that had a great experience with you. They know you, they like you, they trust you. And now they're going to tell their friends, their family, their neighbors, hey, I had a great experience with this guy. And it's so true what you said, where you're really selling yourself that, hey, this is who I am, and this is the type of experience that you'll have when working with me.
Absolutely, 100%.
Hey, Dante, should I go with a broker or a bank?
Ooh, very good question. Obviously, I'm a little biased on this. I would say you always want to go with a mortgage broker. We shop around for the best deal for you. We have different banks and lenders that we work with. But at the end of the day, you want to go with someone that you trust and you feel comfortable with. Have a great day.
Now, you do have a radio show, and I'm very fortunate to be on it. Not every time, but I'm on it
Frequently.
Yes. Today's Real Estate with Brent Wilk.
Yes.
And, a lot of your beginning, you have your little, what would you call it?
Monologues?
Your monologues. Thank you. So with your monologues, you do bring up a lot of trends in real estate, and they're really very insightful, very thoughtful. What are some real estate trends that you're noticing, maybe on a local level as well as, kind of national front?
Well, I think trends typically, they're frequent and infrequent at the same time, because there could be a lot of stagnant where nothing happens, and then a trend really hits, and something's got to end up happening for that trend to occur. What we see mostly, at least I see in the Chicago market, is the seasonal trend. Spring buyers, summer buyers, fall and winter. So, by season, you're going to see some trends that are going to happen. Interest rates, that's going to be something that's going to be a fact. I think something that can end up impacting nationally, or if something comes out with regards to any type of lender restrictions or new laws that come out with regards to any type of impact to the real estate industry, those may end up doing it. I think we ended up having some things when we ended up having shipping and cargo where we had shortages of materials. We had some problems there because costs ended up increasing. So you end up having some big impacts when it came to new construction for a long time. It's funny, but world topics basically have an impact on a daily basis to the real estate industry. I think, again, if people are deciding rentals might be a good option for them, or spending more money for themselves, they can impact their credits. We talked yesterday on the show was about credit, and I went back to the Wayback Machine where I was, my monologue, we laugh about it. Back to the 1980s where, that I was a teenager and it was the go-to thing is going to the mall and getting your first credit card without your parents' consent. And which is funny. Now you think of it like, how are you supposed to get that credit card? But, you're supposed to be 18 to get the credit card, but, people were getting it. And it was the thing to have is, man, look, I got a credit card from X company or whatever company it was. And, you bought that $60 pair of jeans, but you realize I didn't have that $60 to pay for it. But now you've got to pay it. And now you got to tell mom and dad, I got that credit card because I don't have a checking account.
Right.
And I got to pay at least $5 a month, to pay this thing down, which is you're just paying interest. So it's going to take you 3 years to pay off a pair of jeans.
Right.
So there's lots of different ways. I think ultimately when it comes to trends, single digit days in the real estate market right now with a shortage of inventory. That's a big thing right now. But I'm still starting to see a little bit of creeping up of market time with some inventory then too. A lot of times when I end up seeing is that first price reduction. If it gets to that point of there's a price reduction, then the market time typically is going to be a little bit longer for those properties because they think a lot of homeowners may have overpriced their homes to start. And there's nothing wrong with overpricing it because you're testing the market or maybe not testing it. You're just thinking you're going to obtain a high price for your property. But ultimately, you have to end up adjusting and accommodating to where the buyers are at and where the market is stating your home is worth.
A banker, a mortgage broker, an attorney, a realtor, and an accountant are just a few professionals that you'll need their services sometime in your life. We all need a financial team. We all need professional partners that provide information so we can make informed decisions about our life and the things that matter the most to us. I'm willing to be a part of your financial team. I'm here for you. I'm just a call, Zoom meet, a direct message, or a text message away from working with you. So what questions do you have for me?
Obviously, from a house selling in the area, maybe let's just say for $400,000, and then I might be the neighbor, and I want to take advantage of that. I may want a price similar too, but there's obviously more to a price with square footage, bedroom counts,
Improvements.
updates. Yeah, exactly.
Well, everybody's house is always better than the next door neighbor. I mean, you put 10 people in a room, everybody's house is better than their neighbor's house. I said, well, then let's go tour those homes. I very rarely I'll have a client we will end up going out and touring property if they're going to be selling the property because they want to price at X amount of dollars. Photos and historical data are going to end up allowing me to show those pictures to the people and stating that hey, you can tell this one's got a brand new kitchen, or you can tell they've got a new roof, or just the comments that are provided in the MLS. That's one thing that I really try to specify when I list a property of the year of the improvement that was done. Because again, appraisers, it's very common. I'll have an appraiser that may call me down the road on one of my listings, just to verify and confirm that those were dates, that those were accurate. But at the same time as this is, you learn early on, goods and trends aren't going, or the materials aren't going to be lifelong with that house. Right. You're going to have to change up materials over time. And again, it's just, are they 5 years old? Are they 50 years old? When do I need to end up replacing things or if not updating and modernizing things?
Got it. And then what about just some of the stuff you do for the community? I know, obviously we talked about the radio show, but what other things are you doing?
Well, a lot of it is that you've kind of mentioned in the intro. So I do the weekly radio show. It's called Today's Real Estate, with Brent Wilk. It's on every Wednesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. on 1340 a.m. or WJOL.com. There I offer the opportunity for local businesses to promote their companies, like Epic Mortgage for one. I also invite city, state leaders, include mayors, economic development, or community development directors to tout their city, whether it's a new residential community being built, a comprehensive plan that's going through the city council, new businesses coming to their community, or celebrating companies that have been long-term. I know, for instance, there was a mayor from Crest Hill. He'll end up talking about businesses that have been in our community for 20 plus years. He loves it. So we'll end up having that mayor. He wants to end up counting that business, which is fine. City and park district events they'll end up talking about. So that's a good way of giving back to the community that we'll end up doing. I mentioned them too. I'm a youth baseball coach then too. One of my sons plays for travel baseball. All three of them play, but I'm fortunate enough to be a coach for one of them. So I'm instilling these boys to become men. It's very common at a young age. You don't have success. It's throw a bat, drop a F-bomb here or there. And that may be at 7, 8 years old, but 12 and 13 years old, it's very common to where frustration sets in. I make sure I mentioned to the boys that you're going to have more negativity in your life than you're positive. So the one thing you need to do is you need to end up adapting and accept the negative or accept the loss, because the few and far wins and positives in your life are going to outweigh the negatives. So the one thing you want to do is you want to be a positive individual in your life, because again, I'm not here to end up just educating you on the game of baseball. I'm here to educate you on the game of life. Most of the boys will have father figures, but all don't. And again, some are going to rely upon someone else that's going to end up having some type of influence in their life. If I can be that one of those people, then I think I've done good in my life. I can only end up doing it. I can only attract so many individuals to do this to. But again, it's something that was instilled out upon me as a young boy. I had a father he was there for me 365, 24 hours a day. But at the same time as this is he can only give so much. I wanted to end up seeing, other friends, their fathers, things that they can educate me on, people from work, my managers that I ended up having. I mentioned I had managing brokers in my real estate career. What can they end up providing me that's going to help me succeed in life as an individual, in business, and ultimately in life? And again, I think I've adjusted and I've seen what successes that I've had. I've learned which ones that I can bypass and people I don't connect with anymore. You root out the bad. And what you end up doing is as a 50-year-old guy right now, you think I want to have negative in my life? No. I'm a person that, I only have so much time left on this earth. I hope it's longer than shorter. But at the same time as this, I want to end up having enjoyment. And what I want to end up doing is when I end up leaving this earth, hopefully there's some type of legacy that's kept on for something that's down the road.
Definitely. No, well said. And I think that, from a human standpoint, we can always learn from each one of us. I mean, whether it's good or bad, we can learn something not to do or something to do.
Hey, Dante. Is home insurance required?
The answer is yes. Home insurance is required on all transactions. We want to make sure that the house is insured in case of any major accidents. Have a great day.
Now, obviously I can't let you go without, 2,200 sales. I mean, you got to have some good stories, some memories that really are long lasting that, really put an impression upon you. So if you could share a story or two, that'd be great.
I'll give you a couple of them. So I think you're aware of one of them, a woman by the name of Jennifer Carter.
I do know her.
She was a single mom, had a daughter, and her daughter just had a little baby. This was, 15 plus years ago. And she was a person that it took her a while to get pre-approved. And she honestly went looking for homes for at least a year before she finally settled upon a property. And for about the next 3 years, anything real estate related, she would call me. I tell a story. She actually there was a storm in the city that she lived in, and there was a big tree branch that actually fell through her house. I was her first call. If you think about it, I'm like, why would you call me? She called me, what do I do? I said, well, first you call the electric and the gas company to make sure that they shut things off. Then you want to call the fire department right away. And after everything's settled with them, you're going to get in contact with your insurance company. But I was the first call, it was beyond weird. But at the same time as this, she had a lot of trust in me. Most of the people I've come who work with me are long-term clients. Credit issues. I love dealing with people who have had significant credit issues. I had another woman that was finally bought a property in the south side of Chicago. I was at Thanksgiving dinner with my girlfriend's family, which is now my wife, where this lady had honestly 400 some credit. It was brutal. And she ended up getting educated. The next thing you know is it took her about 2 years. And I kept in contact with her. 2 years, she called me up and she's like, my credit score's over 620. And to see her at a closing table to walk away with a set of keys, she still calls me to this day. Her daughter will be graduating college this year. If she stayed local, she knows an agent. She'll be using me. So that's always a good one. There's a gentleman, his name is Otto Hines. Actually got him off an online lead. We just connected where we met in a property, talked to him, found out he was just a contractor looking for one of his clients in purchasing property. And next thing we end up doing is we became not only friends, but we became really good friends, where he comes to family functions a lot. Him and his wife and his family did. He's also one of my guests on the radio show. He's got a little blurb. Every second commercial we come out of, it's a little segment called The Contractor's Minute with Otto Hines. He gives a little testimony or a little piece of advice on something, and it's a little 1 minute blurb, but it's a pretty consistent. It's a little thing I like that happens with my show. Mike and Patty Crowley, they rented for 20 years in the Stickney area. She was a teacher in Stickney, 4 children. They had a 5th on the way. They were in a house that's 900 square feet. A coach house that's 900 square feet. Rotted flooring, old house. Connected with them through a loan officer I knew at the time, and they worked on their credit for about 1.5 years. And they were religious. They had a commitment. They wanted to become homeowners. You know, it's not the white picket fence, but it was pretty damn close because they got the house that they wanted, and the community that they wanted. And, you know, I'm on social media with them, and a lot of things that I'll post or she'll post, you know, we're complimenting one another. So, you know, I'm still in touch with them. And then there's this guy named Dante Royster. You know, we've maintained a friendship for over 20 years. I've seen the highs and highs of you. I've seen the lows and the lows. You know, we don't go into detail as much as we probably could, but I think we just have that trust in with one another to where we talk hardcore business. But dude, it's a pleasure, you know, working with you for over 20 years. And, you know, that's a success story to me. When you've got a long lasting relationship with a company for over 20 years or an individual, that's considered a success in my mind.
I appreciate that. Likewise. So as we start wrapping this up, aspiring realtors, they want to go out there. They want to see the success that you've had. You know, what would you pass on to them? What would you tell them?
So the first thing is Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time. If you think selling homes is 1, 2, 3, you're in the wrong business. I laugh when I hear someone say we only show homes and then we make thousands of dollars. That's our job. You know, we're the car salesman. We're the bad lawyer in the bad suit. If they understood the hours and hours that go into the commitment, working with a client, all the while not being paid, aligning yourself with a brokerage that will allow you to succeed. I mentioned networking with top agents in the office and meeting with them frequently in the first year or two. Mostly being in the field, though. You learn more being in the field than you do working behind a desk. You'll learn how to talk right, but I think you can talk the talk and walk the walk if you're going to be in the field. Create a database of everyone you know, family, friends, coworkers. social functions you attend, people on social media. Let them know you're in the industry. Invest time into learning contracts, talking to businesses that correlate with real estate, attorneys, home inspectors, title companies, contractors, photographers. The list goes on. But the biggest thing is be available 6 to 7 days a week. At the same time, setting a time aside for family. There's work and there's play. Work hard equals play hard.
That's awesome. For the last 4 years, you've asked me this question, or you've told me to do this, and I've never been able to tell you to do this. So, Brent, this is my first time doing this. Give the listeners your contact information.
Wow. Mine is, you can get in contact with me at 815-230-5356, 815-230-5356, or go to ChicagoAreaHomeExpert.com.
Brent, this has been great information. Thanks for coming on the show. Have an epic day.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
The who's, the whys, and the hows are being shared and given to you. Epic Spotlight, baby. A new flavor.